Hello. This video is for a few friends of mine who are kind of new to Warframe, and I hope that I can, in hopefully not all too many words, explain some of the basic concepts on how to play game, or well, how to build things in a fashion that makes the game easier and you more powerful. And I'll probably go to the simulacrum, which is a sort of testing area, to maybe show off some of these things. Now, what is this? This is just a bunch of stuff I had lying around. We got Oberon. I got this one for free. I have a bunch of weird fancy stuff, but well, having a regular Warframe in my lineup, I figured that'd be more sensible, especially since Oberon isn't very difficult to get. A Boltor, a Hiku, and a Nikana. I think Nikana is you can get one from a code you can redeem right now, so that's nice. Anyway, so, firstly, what is mods and how not die? Well, I have a bunch of very fancy stuffs in here, but let's just look at the aura slot first. Auras affect you and nearby teammates. That's pretty much what they do. Yeah, they can also affect nearby enemies if they're a debuff. And you can get them from the Nightwave store, which is a sort of battle pass sort of thing, except it's free. Installing an aura increases the amount of capacity you have for various mods. Now this is Oberon. I'm not really sure what he does now that he's been changed up a lot. He's like a paladin. He heals people, I think. And he removes armor a bit. Yeah, these abilities do get stronger. They go up to rank 3, I think. And all abilities are max rank once the Warframe reaches the max rank of 30. Now, in the early game we will not have access to all that many exciting mods, so we're just gonna use regular redirection. Also, make sure to upgrade your mods, because higher level means it costs more to upgrade them, yes, and they do require more capacity, but they do give you bigger number. And vitality, because we gotta have a vitality on here. You might also play nightmare missions to get a vigor. Now, there's a bunch of mechanics that are relating to survivability, like utilizing the short invincibility time you get from your shield being broken and refilling your shields quickly so you're practically immortal. Those are kind of advanced. I think in the early game it's decent to just grab something that gives you a bit more number. And also make sure to pay attention to what kind of stats your Warframe has, because all of these are percentage based. So if your Warframe has no armor, if you install a mod that increases armor, you're gonna go from basically nothing to very little. However, if you have a Warframe with very high armor, you could go from a lot of armor to tons and tons of armor. Armor is just flat damage reduction to damage dealt to health. Shields also get a 50% base damage reduction, always, but they can be bypassed by Toxin. And Magnetic is a debuff that makes damage multiplication happen on you or enemies, Overguard and Shields. Now we're not going to be talking about Overguard because that's a whole different can of worms. So, okay, we got this. Now we might want to click on Strength. Put an Intensify. Now our abilities are 30% stronger, which is only a little bit. Now, maybe we want the abilities to be a bit cheaper, so we're gonna grab Streamline, which should be reasonably easy to get at the early game. Well, these are all pretty basic mods, I think. It's been a while since I've been at the start of the game, but... Oh yeah, you might be wondering, why is this one max, or why does this one have so much capacity? The higher your mastery rank, the higher the base amount of capacity. Like, I think they made it so that each Warframe and each item has a base capacity of 15, and if you have a catalyst, the capacity is doubled. Each item with some exceptions, has a max rank of 30, meaning that it has a max point capacity of 30, or 60 if it has a catalyst. Catalyst just multiply the amount of capacity by 2 on weapons and similar. Reactors for warframes and similar. Right. And because I got this one as an event thing, I got this one with a reactor, and because I'm mastery rank 32, and it doesn't go past 30, so mine already has the highest amount of points possible. So either you have mastery rank higher than 15, or yeah, you get more the further you are along. Words fail me. So generally we want to have, this is really not a very exciting build, but I don't really know how to build Oberon. I've never used this man. Lotus, go away.
It will be marked on navigation.
But you know, we're gonna be playing early game, so it's probably not gonna be so bad. We're just gonna be, yeah. Well, arcanes, they exist. They're also not really new player concerns. They are effectively mods that have no capacity cost, and they generally have, like this one over here, have some sort of condition you need to meet, and then they give you a buff for some amount of time. There's also some arcanes that are potentially permanent, but and how long they actually do their thing, but you know, it's there's a bunch of different ones, and I don't really want to go through them right now because it's just doesn't really make a lot of sense. I think this is supposed to be for new players, and yeah. I told get the health and shield and armor mods to multiply the amount of damage you can just tank. Look at your abilities, and you should probably look at the abilities before you pick a Warframe. Me not doing that is very bad for the example, but all the super fancy Warframes I like to use already have all the builds built, and anyway, so this is a gun. How do you mod a gun? That's not too bad. You want to stack different layers of multiplication. Imagine it the difference between 2 times 10 and 2 times 5 times 5. 2 times 10 is 20. 2 times 5 times 5 is 2 times 10 times 5 is 10 times 5, 50. Right. So you want to have, even if the numbers individually are smaller, you might want to just have different layers of multiplication. Now, what layers of multiplication are there, you might be wondering? There's critical hits. Some weapons can get up to 100 or more critical hit chance. Then if you get a super crit, which is like a crit over 100%, it just applies the multiplier again. So there are some weapons that you can really build into getting tons of crits. There's multiplication by debuffing an enemy, by giving them viral status or magnetic. If you want to know how to make them, you just combine 2 status effects. Like, if I enter viral into this search box, it shows me cold and toxin mods, because those are the 2 types of mods you need to make a viral happen. There we go. Of course, the damage debuff only applies if you actually proc the status on hit. So, let's get some multiplying going. This thing has a base damage of 25. Not too impressive, but can work with that. So let's just get this Serration with 105 extra damage. And we now have 51 damage. Okay, that's good. It's double the damage. We like that. Now we want to have a separate multiplier in the shape of an elemental damage mod. Like, let's say, heat. I like heat. Hellfire. That one should be reasonably accessible. As you can see, we went from 25 to 50 to almost 100. Since this one is a separate multiplier to this one, and 90% of 51 plus 51 equals this apparently. 97.4. Great. Also, other raw damage mods like heavy caliber would also just combine with this one, and other elemental damage mods would combine with this one, at least in the like layer of multiplication we're working with. Now the next type of damage multiplication I can show you is multi-shot. Multi-shot is great. I like multi-shot. I recommend looking for multi-shot mods, but I think they're supposed to be a bit difficult to get early on. Maybe it depends. I don't even remember where you get most of these. Anyway, installing a multi-shot mod, like this one here, adds 90% multi-shot, means that for each bullet, you fire 1.9 bullets. What does that even mean? I think practically that just means you fire almost always 2 bullets per shot at the cost of only 1 bullet. Meaning you functionally deal double damage. And you also get technically a higher critical chance and status chance since you have more bullets per shot, but that's the kind of math I don't really want to think about right now. Of course, if you have a multi-shot of, say, 8, because you're using a shotgun and that one already has 8 pellets in it, 100% multi-shot, for instance, would already just turn the 8 into 16. So, like always, these mods apply to the base numbers because they're all percentage stuff. So if you have a high number here on the left without any mods, building into that is pretty nice. So this has kind of low status chance, kind of low critical chance, and critical damage, but I guess it's early game weapons for ya. So, let's see. Do we have just a status chance mod? Like, there's nightmare mods you get from nightmare missions, and you get nightmare missions by beating every mission on the planet, and then you can get a nightmare mission, and there's 3 types of nightmare missions, because there's like low level, mid level, and high level, and they all have their own drop tables for stuff like this, and they're always like mods with 2 positives. There's also corrupted mods from vaults that have a strong positive and a negative, well, those are for later, I suppose. So let's just add rifle aptitude because we got some amount of status, I guess. And we have 20% status chance. Ooh. And these crit numbers are just kind of sad. I don't even want to really bother building into that. But you know what? If we were assuming that this is the only weapon I have, let's just add some critical chance and let's add some critical damage. Bleh. Now, you might be wondering, why am I not using something for, like, increasing the slash damage on this weapon? The reason for that, is these, I mean, they sort of work, I suppose, but they don't really combine with anything well, and unlike elemental mods that give you 90% of the whole damage, this one just gives you 90% of the slash damage on top of the damage you're already dealing. Only to slash. But like, I've got 2.5 slash plus 90%, it's barely anything. And I don't think this applies to, like, elemental things. Yeah, they don't stack either, so there's very little reason to use those, I think. Now there's a lot of different status effects you can cause. There's a weapon that the game gives you in a tutorial mission that supposed to act as a kind of status effect learning tool. Where is it? It's somewhere down Thornback. Yeah, the game gives you this. And it has a pretty nice base status chance of 36%. So, these are the 60/60 mods. They're good to get, but it's unlikely that you'll have those at the start of the game. I mean, you should have all of them at some point, but, you know, things take time. And you gotta prioritize and stuff. So instead of using 60/60 mods, let's just add aptitude. Okay. Do we have anything else that adds status chance? I mean, the 60/60 mods, of course. There's a hammer shot. If you play Nightmare Missions, you could get that. I think you can get thermite rounds from playing Earth spy missions, probably. So yeah, we have a 90% status chance. We have radiation, which makes enemies in fight, which is kind of cute, but not the yellow from the egg, I think. I guess I could go through the status types. Cold makes enemies slow, and they take extra critical damage, I believe. Heat reduces enemy armor over time, and it also makes them panic. It also deals damage over time, and it is, as far as I know, the only status effect that you can keep stacking on top of each other, and each time you inflict it, the whole stack refreshes. So you can, if you keep inflicting heat procs, you can get like hundreds of heat status effects depending on your weapon. Electricity is, I think, just more damage over time with some AoE because the electricity sparks between enemies, and toxin damage over time bypasses shields, I think. And they all combine into things like magnetic, which is damage amplification against shields and overguard, or viral, which is amplification against health, corrosive, which reduces armor, gas, which is a cloudy AoE damage type. There's a bunch of different. Oh yeah, there's also blast, which is more AoE damage. So there's different kind of status types, and you might be worth learning about those. But you know, generally speaking, most people probably would recommend to use viral of some sort because viral is just pretty good. So being able to multiply damage you deal against an enemy is good. More layers of damage multiplication or amplification, like I said. So we got base damage, we got plenty of status damage over here. We got, well, this is for the status damage to get viral to do its thing. Let's see. Oh yeah, multi-shot. Multi-shot. Split chamber. Well, we're already pretty full on mod capacity here, but this should work. This, I mean, it's a pretty expensive build for a quote-unquote early game thing. Oh dear, what is this even? Secondary weapons get some pretty strong mods too. They get multiple multi-shot mods that are pretty nice. Barrel Diffusion, I think, is a drop from some mini-bosses of some sort. Lethal Torrent is from Nightmare Missions, as you can see with the two bonus positive things here. Multi-shot and Fire Rate, which grants you a base multi-shot of 2.8, meaning that you fire guaranteed 2, almost certainly 3 projectiles instead of 1. Which is sort of triple damage, I suppose. Regular damage multiplication, and all of these weapons have crit values that are so bad that it's not really worth building into crit on any of these. So I should probably get some weapon that might be a better comparison or better display of how to do thing. Oh yeah, this is also a thrown weapon, the Hiku. You can throw it, it's quiet. If you want to be sneaky, having a quiet weapon is nice, but there's also mods that make weapons quiet. However, there's mods, there's weapons that you can use that you can make quiet, but they are explosive, so even if the shot is quiet, the thing hitting something isn't, which sort of makes doing the whole thing pointless. Oh yeah, it's, I don't know, that's prime convulsion. You're probably not gonna have that. It's a lot of mods have very spicy, special, high-level versions and variants and stuff. Probably gonna run into those at some point, but at the start you'll probably not have too many things to choose from. Right, so this is not a status or a crit weapon, so what do I even do here? Concealed explosives, sure. Not a good mod because it deals a flat, I think, 200 damage, and you cannot increase it, so because enemy HP and damage reduction scales, eventually it's just gonna be completely useless, but at low level, that's something. Shouldn't discount it. It does its thing in its own little niche. So what's... Oh yeah, Ice Storm. I guess you could get that from Nightmare Mission, and then you add Toxin, Viral, ta-da! Now we shouldn't add a Viral to all the weapons, but we can. Now what is a melee weapon? What is this? Why does it have an aura slot? That's not an aura slot, that's the stance slot. You can put a stance in there, and that changes its animations. And a bunch of different attacks might even have guaranteed status procs. In fact, there are some weapon types that have guaranteed status procs. Like Nikanas and a bunch of other weapon types have guaranteed slash procs on heavy attacks. Slash procs are a damage over time that bypasses enemy armor. Like over here, you can see it there. Slash procs are unaffected by slash mods, so if I add slash and Bazcool, this number is higher, but the slash proc isn't going to be any better. If I want the slash proc to be better, I would need to use either an element, this mod, but you're not likely to get this one anytime soon. You could use a faction mod, like Grenier. I'd never use these mods, but if you have the patience and brain capacity to keep changing these around, because these apply twice to status damage for some reason, so they apply first to the base damage, and then they apply again to the calculated status damage. So faction damage mods are very strong for reasons that are probably a bug, but it's never been fixed, and it probably won't be. Now, how do I a melee weapon? Similar to other stuff, really. You want to have pressure point for damage. Yep, that's nice. And then we'll add heat, because I like heat. Molten Impact. It has a Vazarin polarity. Oh yeah, you might have seen if the symbol in the top right matches the slot you put it in, it's cheaper. Yippee! That's just something that is useful. Oh yeah, Life Strike. Sure, let's go with Life Strike. You can get this one in Fortuna, I think, which is the Venus open world. It's a rare drop from the enemies there. I think it's a decent thing to pick up if you're a new player or farm for, because you can... 20% of damage, and you deal, say, it's a heavy attack, so let's look at that. 2,000, almost 3,000 damage already. So 20% of that on a heavy attack, if you hit multiple people with that, you can get even more. Range is pretty popular on melee weapons, so you might want to consider adding that. Though overall, there's a bunch of things you can go for. There's combo builds that use a combo count, because there's a bunch of mods that scale off of your combo count. There's heavy attack builds, like, say I want to have a weapon that just utilizes the fact that this thing has guaranteed slash procs. You use a mod like Killing Blow, which increases heavy attack wind-up speed and melee damage on heavy attacks. Which, these, I'm pretty sure these, I don't think these stack very well, but 120% damage can really snooze at that. Then let's just add Fury for a bit of extra speed, though I recommend you look for a mod called Quickening, since that's just a complete upgrade over Fury. You can use both, but Quickening I think is another nightmare mod, which might be annoying to get. So we have a heavy attack improvement, we have elemental damage, utility, damage, range, fury. I'm definitely forgetting something for some kind of weapons or Warframe builds and stuff, but this is mostly just so that people can not suffer and explode and die immediately. Like, I could add impact. I've seen a friend use an impact mod on a weapon that deals basically no impact damage. And yeah, I can add heavy trauma. It's gonna add nothing, but you could do that. If you have nothing else if you have no other mods, I guess you can add it for some 3 or 4 more damage, and I'm not gonna judge you for that. It's more damage, and you don't have anything else to do or to put in there. It only makes sense. I would recommend you consider how many things you put on there, and if you're not over investing into some flavor of damage or layer of damage. Like, yeah, I have pressure point. I could add a spoiled strike, which is one of the cursed mods from the vaults, but this one stacks with this one. So even though the damage is nice and higher, instead of 100, these don't multiply each other. They just stack. Heavy attacks are also affected by combo count, so let's go with something nice. Like, do we have something that affects combo efficiency? Can you even get a mod like that early in the game? I don't even remember. Let's just go with those mods. It's fine. Oh yeah, you also want to get a companion. You can get a cat, you can get a dog, you can get a drone, you can get a robot chicken, you can get a lion thing, you can get a messed up looking fox, you can get a robot dog, you can get a weird infested sort of dog, you can get a regular dog, you can... Early on in the game, I think one of the early game thingies is gonna give you a taxon blueprint, which is the early game companion drone friend. And I recommend, if nothing else, you install a mod for let's just equip something different, like my scanner, my camera GoPro Prime. Of course, they all have their like behavior mods that sort of determine what they do, but vacuum is very important. It increases the range of you picking up things. That's super convenient. And a bunch of utility things. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of different companion weapons too, but that's like its own thing. Oh yeah, there's also the Arcwing, and you can have Arcwing mods. Ooh, but similar principles apply at the end of the day. So we have whatever this is. Let's go and shoot some things in the early game. Like, let's go to Mars. That's reasonably early, right? Invasion, mobile defense? I don't really want to do that. Where's just simple exterminate? Sabotage, mobile defense. Well, there's a nightmare mission. You can tell by the red thing here. And I did all the missions here, so I can see this one, and I can play without shields. Ooh, sounds great. Except not. Ugh. Crossfire, exterminate. That's not really what I'm looking for. Oh, there we go. Exterminate. 8 to 12. That's nothing really, but it'll work, I guess. Is this video any good? I genuinely don't know. It's probably pretty bad. Though if it manages to teach someone just one single thing, I'd already be glad. So I should not have brought this guy, because this one just has my modded like prime laser rifle or something, so it's just gonna mess up enemies and steal my kills. Like that. Let's try and engage enemies from a range that my camera doesn't snipe them from. I'm good at the game. That's because you can tell by me missing all the time. Might have already just overdone it with the mods, because obviously these guys, they just sort of die really fast. Oh yeah, movement recommendations. You press the crouch and the jump button to bullet jump. It launches you. There are other things you can do in the game, like running along a wall, but the jump is the optimal means of movement. Though, that shouldn't stop you from using whatever you want. Play the game at whatever pace you like. There's people in public lobbies that might tell you to just go fast, but that's also why I play with friends or in solo lobbies, so I don't have people hurrying me around. I can do whatever I want. So, obviously this gun deals pretty good kill damage I don't even really get to apply many stacks of viral before they die. It's probably good, but also we don't get much of the damage amplification because they just get one viral stack. It goes up to 10, by the way. Yay, throw the Nico. Oh yeah, beware the knockback. There's no self-damage yet, but if you blow something up, or like you have an explosive gun and you shoot directly in front of yourself, you will get knocked back and stunned. People do not like it when that happens to them, so well, I mean, there's people who tell you to use primed sure-footed. I think that's a joke, but you know, there's a mod that just makes you never be stunned. I mean, I could use the Nikana on an enemy, but pretty sure they're just gonna die in one regular attack. Hi. Kill stealing GoPro. Oh hey, a Nayatan star. Those can be installed in Nayatan statues to make them more valuable. An Eximus unit! Perish! You can probably see a little number in the bottom right above the thing that says Blind Justice. That's the combo counter, if you couldn't tell. It, because I don't have any combo duration mods, expires pretty quickly. The combo multiplier that could appear if I actually managed to hit a lot of enemies only affects heavy attacks, and of course any kind of mod that says with each level of combo multiplier you get this and that crit chance or whatever. So those are nice, but gone are the times where you could just get 12 times the damage by merit of hitting things continuously. Oh yeah, there's also mods for loot radar you can put on your companion, so you get these little boxes on the minimap. Those are nice. So you can see where all the stuff is, so you can punch a box and get stuff. Yum, salvage. Yum, locker. One morphic. 108 credits. Be still my heart. Or maybe don't.
Mission complete. Excellent work, Tenno.
Yay. Nav coordinate. Say it isn't so. Those aren't very useful. He'll probably end up with like 1,000,000 of those. I'm tired. I did have a long day. Getting my therapy finally, so that's nice. Oh, this video is terrible. I don't think anyone would have watched up to this point, but if you did, I'm very thankful and proud and sort of afraid of your power. How can you deal with this? How can you bear my terrible... Okay, sorry. Never mind. No self-derision. That's Krigne. We do not do Krigne content on this quality YouTube channel. So, as you can see, the Oberon can do the low-level mission. Big surprise. And there's a bunch of Warframes. A Prime Warframe is like a regular Warframe, except a slightly higher stat collector variant, I guess. So if you see someone like Gauss Prime, that's just slightly more gilded, somewhat very slightly more higher stat, like health and armor shields and stuff. Gauss than regular Gauss, like Gauss. There we go. It's kind of the same kind of guy. In some cases, it might actually be easy to get the Prime variant, because those are always very consistent in how you get them. while actually getting the regular Warframe can be right pain. Well, either the Warframe or the resources or both. If there were any Warframes I would recommend to a new player, I recommend Necros. He can remove enemy armor, which reduces or even removes their damage reduction, which of course is technically a damage multiplication for you, but only technically. And he can desecrate corpses to generate more loot. So if you're farming, having one of these along can be pretty nice, and he doesn't even need an augment to do that. Augments being specific mods you just sort of stick onto a Warframe. You can get them from a syndicate, and they modify abilities. So I recommend Necros to new players. I recommend who else? Frost. Frost is pretty good. Frost is funny because that's my alarm. No, don't talk right now. You're taking me out of it. What does he do? He can freeze enemies, and he can make a defensive globe, and he can also strip armor. Armor usually being the most problematic enemy thing to have, that prevents you from killing them fast, because they just take like a tenth of the damage you're dealing. And that's pretty good. The funny thing about Frost is that they keep adding more arcanes or special mods or maybe weapons that just sort of very specifically benefit him or from things being frozen. So in the early game you might not notice how ridiculous Frost gets, but later on you'll probably maybe be witness to Frost and his silliness. What else is a good early game Warframe that I would recommend? Valkyr, she's pretty solid, I think. Zephyr, she's pretty good. Valkyr has the melee damage multiplier that's stacking onto the regular pressure point damage, but 300 damage is 300 damage, and she's very tough. Some of the highest health and armor numbers you can get. She has built-in health regeneration from one of her abilities, so that's nice. You don't even need a life strike, though I would still recommend it for a new player. And Zephyr just gets 150% crit chance while she's in the air. Also, she can have a tornado ability, which enables multiplicative doom damage, because each of these little tornadoes, if you hit it, it damages all the enemies in it. If you throw an explosive in there, the explosive will hit all the tornadoes, and all the tornadoes will overlap and deal all of the damage to all of the people multiple times. It's great. Not it's the most important, but you know, mobility and high damage. Zephyr's great for that. Other new game frames. Am I the right person to ask for that? It's been so long. I mean, it really depends on your playstyle and what you want to do. Do you want to kill fast? Do you want to go fast? Do you want to be sneaky? Do you want to punch? There's a lot of options. There's also prime frames. There's options there too. Do you want to gamble? Do you like gambling? Do you like having a Warframe that's extremely inconsistent, that could be extremely good if you stay in a mission for a comically long amount of time? Who knows? You got lots of choices. Got lots of choices, yes. I've got a spare Valkyr Prime. I think that was a Twitch drop at some point. Yeah. This video isn't really going anywhere now. I don't think I'm even really teaching anything useful. I should probably just stop the recording now. Oh yeah, there's a Parazon. It's a kind of wrist knife. You can put mods on it that affect hacking or mercy finishers. That's a thing you can do. How do you get these? I think spy missions? It's been a while. At least they don't cost any juice. Oh yeah, maybe you were interested in the big ship that's attached via umbilical cord. That's my railjack, and you can have player-specific railjack mods too. These affect you and your personal crew if you're playing on your ship. If you're on someone else's ship, those apply to you but not to anyone else. So even if you're just being a crew person on someone else's ship, you probably still want to have these filled up at some point if you're playing Railjack at all. If not, then that's not really gonna matter. You'll probably see that a lot of weapons that you use, the game just asks you to sort of buy them with money, with a platinum price here. I recommend don't really pay attention to that. Generally, what you'll want to do is look at the thing in the store, look at the blueprint, look at the materials and components you need, and just get those instead. It takes longer, but you don't spend a fortune, and that's kind of what you're supposed to do anyway. I mean, not spending a fortune building these things. Like, you can get this pump action shotgun at a mastery 8. Wow. Some of these weapons you cannot get the blueprint from the market. Sometimes you can get the blueprint from a clan, which is a player group sort of thing, or you can get it from a boss, or you can get it from a bounty, which is a kind of open world type of mission. Oh yeah, there's a warning I can give about the open worlds. They're kind of cool, but a lot of the resources you can get in there only really affect stuff you can do and get in there, so I think you could, really early on in the game, hypothetically, just stay in Cetus for a while, farm Cetus resources, make a Zaw, which is a kind of customizable weapon you can make in Cetus that's made up of different components, and if you reach a high level there, you can get a component that makes your weapon deal really high crit or status, and then you could end up with a really strong weapon. And since these don't have a mastery requirement, you could have a very strong weapon early on. I didn't recommend doing that, but you know, you could. Probably shouldn't though. You could do something similar over in Venus, because these people make guns. But generally, if you play the Plains of Eidolon, most stuff you'll find here is only really going to affect stuff you can make or build here, so this is kind of a, I wouldn't say content island, but it's a bit separated from the rest of the stuff. Also, the enemies here can be kind of tough, so just a heads up. Well, there's also the Deimos open world if you like meat. Oh yeah, another recommendation, because I do love giving recommendations. After you have finished the quest, the Duviri Paradox, you will get access to a little place. And in that place, you might see a bunch of weapons displayed, and you can buy them with resources you can get into Viri, and then you can build them for your Warframe using resources you can get into Viri. They do not have a mastery requirement, and they're all pretty strong. I wouldn't say they are the best. Maybe they aren't even S tier, but they're really high A tier at the very least, if you want to rank them like that. They are really nice. I kind of recommend all of them. They all have pretty decent stats, really, like 34 critical chance, that's great, 2.6 critical damage multiplier, ooh, 20% status, and this thing doesn't have a mastery requirement. You can just get this. You can rush the Duviri Paradox and grab the Duviri weapons, if that's what you want to do. Would I recommend doing that? I wouldn't recommend trying to rush that, but I do recommend grabbing them if you get the opportunity. It might take a couple hours of farming the resources and the clamps you need to get them, but I say it is worth it. You can get strong weapons, and oh yeah, you might end up not having enough weapon slots or Warframe slots to have and keep all of your favorite things. In order to accommodate that, I recommend Nightwave rank up, playing the Nightwave, which gives you a small number of slots, gives you 2. Does it give you more than 2? It gives you 1 Warframe slot and 2 slots. Now, what I recommend you do is you try and trade with other players on a website like warframe.market, and you look what kind of stuff you have, what you might be able to sell. Usually it's prime parts that you might have to gamble for, but you know, it's not real life gambling. You don't spend money, you only spend time. And you can sell prime sets and get small amounts of platinum, and even small amounts of platinum are enough to buy weapon slots. Like, a weapon slot is 12, and that's, you get two, so it's, you get two weapon slots for 12. 12 isn't so bad. You can get 12. You look in here. Oh no, what kind of prime do I have? And I have uh I've got a Braton Prime and a Burston Prime and a Bronco Prime, but those are super common, so they don't really sell for much. I would not recommend interacting with people who want to buy quote-unquote prime trash, because those people usually just want you to fat finger and sell something valuable for no value, for no money. But you know, that's the market. Braton Prime set. Oh hey, people are buying these for 7 platinum? Really? Okay, that's more than I expected. So I guess you could make 2 Braton Prime sets and then... Yeah, I know. And then you could buy 2 more weapon slots. Is that more time spent on stuff? Yeah, I guess. So how do you get prime parts anyway? You interact with this thing to look at your current relics. You get relics just by playing missions. You can get relics from almost any mission type. Like you can get a lot of them from defense or from survival missions or capture missions. There's a lot of these you can get. And each of these has a selection of things that can be in it. And you can only really know what is in it when you open it. So you pick a mission that's like a lith fisher, which is a low-level fisher that has these low-level relics, the lith relics. You pick up lith B10. I recommend playing capture exterminate missions. You play one of those. You can refine this if you want to increase the chances of getting the rare thing. And then at the end of the mission, it opens up and you can see what you get. If you play this in multiplayer, you can see the things the other people brought from their relics, and you can pick what they drop from their relic, if that's like a better or more desirable thing. And each and every person will get a copy, so it's not like I can take away someone else's funny thing. If, for instance, I open this and I got a Carius Prime receiver, and everyone else just gets Forma, then they can all say, I want an Acarius Prime receiver, and then we all can have one. So that's nice. Cooperative gambling, my favorite. And if you can find the Fisher missions, and if you look at the start chart and click on this little marker looking thing, and then you can see them over here. The faction is indicated on the right, the type of Fisher, it says over here, and that has a little picture. This is the mission type. Yep. Such a great tutorial, isn't it? I'm the best at tutorials. They should make me tutorial CEO of tutorial, because I'm just the center of tutorial. Tutorial. Yeah, tutorial. What has he done? Floating around, waving a sword around, throwing it at a rock. But yeah, you can make him in colors. Ooh. I do have a lot of color schemes, but a lot of them were free. Agony did cost money, Beach was free, Chirp was free, Cavia, I think this one was free, Conquest was not free, Daybreak was free. And since you can trade items in the game for platinum, you can get almost all of the things in the game in the in-game shop without paying any real money if you have the patience or the awesome trading skill to get the platinum required. Like, there's some funny... if you're really into trading, you can make all of the money, but I don't know anyone who's really into trading, so... if you don't like trading, you can just use Warframe.market and sell things that have a sort of consistent set value, and not bother with all the haggling or Rivens. I don't want to talk about Rivens. yeah, I think this video is long enough. I can't even think of anything to say now. May you have learned many things. Oh, if I can make the video a couple seconds longer, it's gonna be 50 minutes. Wouldn't that be awesome? 50 minutes of... Oh yeah, there we go. Bye-bye.